Alright. My gold coffers have been quite depleted lately. I used to be up at, 85,000? I've since fallen down below 10,000. I recently got it back up to above 30,000 using this trick, and I'm going to be trying to get it even higher today. So we're going to farm some gold. Someone, I forget who it was, mentioned farming gold in Curious Northern Desert, and I didn't check how they're doing it, but I thought about how the Aequitas spawning thing worked, and basically this dungeon has infinitely many bosses, all of which drop 25 gold, so our plan is to get into a situation where we can just completely farm those forever. And if you want to do something forever, Troll, at least on the current patch, is the way to go. I prepped Conjunction to get a 4th altar, and that's because I have a lot of things that I want out of my altars here. I want Dracul, I want at least one of Tiki-Tuki, Torog, and Mystera, and I'd like either Binlor or Earth Mother as well. And prepping Conjunction gives me the best chance of getting all 3 of the things I want, as opposed to prepping any one god. Though prepping Dracul could have been okay as well. We're doing Avatar's Codex here, again because we want a way to be able to kill level 10 bosses without actually having high enough attack power to kill off our Shroud Cows. Finding Dracul's altar is great. That's the one god that we really specifically need. So might have to scum a little for it. But this was a first try, so... Glowing Guardian, on the other hand, is one of the only gods we have no use for whatsoever. Start worshipping Dracul, start building up some piety. There's not a whole lot of undead around that we've seen. We already killed off a zombie. So we're not too worried about the undead restriction being, well, restrictive to us. There's no particular item we absolutely need in shops, but getting a mage plate would be very nice, especially if we don't get Tiki-Tuki. And we can always find the Gloves of Midas instead, so that would be nice too. I don't usually take Blood Curse. I think that's an option I've, neglected for a long time. But when you're playing a Codex user, it's actually a really good option, because it increases the attack power of your fireballs, and you don't mind having the lower stats because you're not killing things with your physical stats anyhow. It's still probably not worth it in a longer dungeon like Vicious Gondolette, where you were going to be able to hit level 10 anyhow and spend a lot of time there. But it makes the leveling process a lot smoother in general, so... Doing some quick math to figure out if I can kill this goat, the answer is no, 3 HP short. So that's a little unfortunate. Gloves of Midas? That's always great. We certainly don't need them, but it'll make the loop run, 4% faster? Better than nothing. Most items are useless to us, because we don't care. The dungeon's easy enough, we're gonna get to the end regardless. But that's 3 altars found, and we haven't found any of the ones we asked for except Dracul. We can afford to get by without Earth Mother or Binlor. That's more of just a nice-ish thing, but Jahor Jaheyu will do in a pinch. But we really, really want to see either Mystera or Tarog or Tiki-Tuki, because we need some way of lowering our attack power. That's also why I'm not picking up the little green sword pickup on the ground, or any others that we might find later. There we are, Mystera. Her Flames Boon will give us a big negative attack penalty, and that, along with Troll's starting negative attack power, will put us a long way toward being able to keep a Shroud Cow alive. That might not be sufficient on its own, but if we need to, we can convert to Johor Jaheyu and just sort of wander around for a little while until we get some weakness stacks. Once you're level 7, that's about the time when you can start pretty easily taking on the clones of Aequitas, which give gold and stuff, but they're also level 10 monsters, so very good for the leveling phase. And the clones of Aequitas drop both gold and blood. This is one of the only places in the entire game where you can actually farm non-bloodless monsters like that. I know there's like those blood snakes in not Heretic Bronze, Blood Mage Bronze that spawn. But this is the only other one I can think of. I need 60 Piety and Dracul because I'm taking a level of Blood Tithe for Sanguine and then converting out. So the reason I wanted Dracul is a way of removing blood pools from the ground. We're going to be killing a lot of clones of Aequitas, each of them is going to drop a blood pool, and that's going to add up. That's a lot of blood pools. And multiple blood pools on the same tile I found seem to stack with each other, and as they build up on the ground, they all have separate sprites. So it looks pretty cool in that the entire square is eventually just a single red square, rather than like anything bloodstained shaped. But the drawback is that having so many blood sprites out seems to make the game lag. I got punished there by Mystera by Manure entirely by accident. I wasn't paying attention to that at all. But once I got punished, I realized that was the best thing for us. Flames alone is not enough to get our attack power low enough. We're still at 7. It's going to be like 10 by the time we're max level, maybe 9. So, getting punished by Mystera gives our enemies a bit more resistance, so they'll take less damage from us. And now this goo blob is going to be usable as a Shroud Cow without being killed, because we're only going to be dealing 3 or 4 damage per hit to it, and it heals 4 health per tile. So Goo Blob can actually survive our attacks. It still does a bit too much damage to us when it hits us for now, but we have time to work on that. We can like find items and stuff. If you're wondering why I moved Aequitas to the corner, I just wrote the script on the assumption that Aequitas would be down in that corner. So, there's nothing special about that corner, it's just the one I chose to designate when I was setting up before the run. Because I am going to have a script run this infinite farming for me, while I go off and get some work done, or have a nap, or something. It's Sunday, I can do either. The Goo Blob isn't a perfect Shroud Cow yet, we're taking too much damage per hit compared to our regen, but it's still a way of getting mana back even if it's not completely health efficient. And it will be in the future. For now, it's good enough to let us get set up, and we're very close to reaching level 10 now. probably be best just to kill off a low-level monster to level up. I get a bit obsessive about keeping my popcorn alive, and I don't really know how to turn that obsession off, even when I'm just somewhere like Northern Desert, where that's really not the issue. And where, if we're not going to be killing anything else outside of the loop after this level up, what are we saving the popcorn for? Moving the Shroud Cow into position, because my script cares about that too. May as well spend some health for darkness before I can level up and get full healed anyhow. The gold piles that the Aequitas clones drop are worth 26 gold each. They're normally 25, but the all gold piles in the main dungeon are worth +1 gold applies to them too. So that's kinda nice. We seem to be healing 5 less per hit than we take whenever the Gooblob hits us, so we're going to want to fix that. And I saw a Serpentine Shield in one of the shops, so I'm going to use that as part of the plan. If I converted a glyph to make room for Serpentine Shield, that would effectively be 5 more defense. That's too much, we only want 4 more. So I converted my regular shield instead. Now I'm healing 3 points too little. So I just need 2 more conversion thresholds. I'm moving other monsters into position to run the loop effectively. Because of the way Aequitas spawns an Aequitas clone in a random adjacent space, we want to make sure that we're entirely certain where Aequitas can spawn. This goblin we've attempted to weight left twice. It's resisted us both times just on Mystera's 15% magic resist. Something useful to note is that the 15% magic resist Mystera gave all enemies does not seem to apply to the Aequitas clones, I suppose because they didn't exist when the punishment was applied. So these monsters on the right side of that little box down in the bottom left corner, they're to make sure that we're always attacking Aequitas from the north. The Gooblob behind Aequitas ensures that we're not getting knocked back by Aequitas, which means the clone can't spawn in the place we were standing in. So it has to spawn to the right of Aequitas. So now we'll always know where our opponent is standing. And now we're losing exactly 1 health on each hit of the Gooblob. We didn't need to be quite so exact, but it's always nice. So now I've started the script running very slowly to show off the loop. Essentially, in each cycle, the first death protection gets used to punch Aequitas, creating a clone, and the second death protection gets used to survive the retaliate from the clone. The retaliate of the first hit, that is. The second hit is lethal. So, by doing that, we're able to get 1 clone killed every 2 death protections. Each death protection is 6 explorers, which gets us 6 mana. And it costs us 12 mana to kill the clones, so this is about as efficient as we could hope for. Now there is just one more thing I want to take care of. Mystera triggers 3 piety events every cycle. 2 for casting Fireball and 1 for killing a spellcaster. We want as few piety events triggering each cycle as possible, because we don't really want the piety log getting filled up, because we've seen in the past that when the piety log gets filled during an infinite loop, that tends to make the game lag and crash. And while we're not super worried about a crash, I've found a lot of problems with lag in this. And the problem with lag is that if the lag makes your script miss 1 input, then you're going to end up dying. And if you die, you don't get to walk out with any gold. So, which happened to me several times in a row when I was left the game running overnight and came back to that. Luckily, I've since figured out ways around that. And that's why I wanted Earth Mother or Binlor. Those are the only two gods that will have no piety events whatsoever as the loop runs. But Jehoria Jeheyu will do in a pinch. He only has one piety event per cycle, the being amused for killing a monster. We'd really like Petition though, since the loop will of course be broken if we happen to get mana burned, for example, or poisoned, or anything like that. So we'll desecrate Mystera to afford Petition, and we don't mind desecrating Mystera. That just makes our Gooblob even tankier, and again, the clones of Aequitas do not benefit from Mystera's punishment, and they're the only monsters we actually care about killing. So now I can run the full speed version of the loop. And it automatically steps on the fallen Aequitas' body each cycle, which both collects the gold pile and absorbs the blood pool. And that preventing gold piles and blood pools from building up on the map helps deal with slowdown as well. The other thing I've done to help deal with that is I've programmed the script to basically slow down after a while, providing a longer gap between each hit. So basically after the first hour, it'll go from, it'll go to taking maybe 4/10 of a second between each move, whereas at the moment it's only like 2/10 of a second. And at later breakpoints, it'll start taking even longer, but that's only relevant for like an overnight run. I'm only going to leave this running 2 hours, because I want to come back and do more stuff on this computer later, and just want to show off the loop properly. So we let it run for 2 hours and 15 minutes approximately. You can see the that the loop is running slower now. You can also see that there's a little bit of lag in the game. It's moving kind of jerkily, a lot of frames being dropped. The cursor blood footprints showing where you're going to walk type stuff doesn't update as quickly as it was before. But we have not died, and that's all that really matters. We programmed the loop to slow down after a while to account for that, so this is all working just as planned. Look at that 41 prestige levels. Considering that each Aequitas clone kill adds to the list of monsters we've killed this game, which the game definitely keeps track of since it shows on the ending screen, I don't think there's any way to completely avoid slowdown as the game goes on. There's always going to be a log filling up. We can't see how much gold we have. The hundreds digit is just a black box once you go over 999 gold, but we'll see once we leave the dungeon. Now, we could kill Aequitas and the Gooblob boss to claim our victory, but we can also just leave. We already have the gold we came for. What do we care? This trick works for now. It won't work once the southern expansion comes out and the troll gets nerfed to disallow the easier infinite loops. But for now, it's quite a nice way to get gold back, so I'm happy to use it while it's here. And maybe there's a not quite infinite loop that can be done with like Vampire and Knockback. Still thinking about that. I'm not sure if that's the one. I don't know if like the others were talking about using this loop as a troll or as a vampire or what, but troll's definitely the one that I thought would be appropriate because I like things being truly infinite. Not, you can get a lot of gold, but eventually Aequitas Prime runs out of health. And I know this isn't truly infinite either due to the slowdown, but it's close enough. In theory, it would be truly infinite. That makes me happy. So, 1,700 gold for a little over 2 hours. Seems to run at a rate of about 7,000 gold an hour. That, considering I didn't actually have to play the game for most of it, is a very good exchange rate in my opinion. So, this is a neat trick, and now I can afford more stemming.